Oh, that's annoying. Okay, so here we are with another Super 7 product from Robinhood. And I am not looking forward to this. Based on my last review, which is available down in the description, I think this is gonna be a big disappointment. But maybe I go into this with low expectations. Maybe that's the trick. So welcome to the channel. When we do reviews like this, we will start with an overview of everything that's in the box itself, all that stuff. And then we look at details, articulation, and then posing. And then we round it all off with a nice overall score, which will probably be really low on this one. Fingers crossed that for some reason this is better than Robin Hood himself. But today we're looking at Prince John, and he comes with Sir Hiss, the snake. You wouldn't know that because the box is a box. Let's get into it. All right, so Super 7 doing Disney's Robin Hood, Prince John specifically here, ages 14 and up. And then we got all this fun, no one cares about stuff on the back of the box, yada, yada, yada. Okay, cool. Let's just open this thing up already because we don't want to sit here and stare at brown boxes all day. So, Super 7, the one thing I can say for sure is that their packaging is always incredible. They do a really good job with their packaging. You kind of get this setup that is going to guarantee that if you're an inbox collector, it's going to look good. So let's open this plastic. But as an out-of-box collector, if they would lower the cost of their packaging and put that into the figure itself, I think a lot of us would be happy. But if you haven't seen the other review where I actually had Robin Hood himself from this animated movie, yeah, watch that one first so that you know that I'm going into this with like incredibly low expectations. So Prince John, very gold box. Wow, you can see the camera that's overhead really clearly. There's not a lot going on with the packaging as far as, you know, anything to read. So we get a little bit of information that we saw on the brown box is repeated here on the purple section. And then there's, what is that? Contents, one figure with accessories, which is interesting because they're counting Sir Hiss as an accessory. So there we go, look at that. I am certainly a fan of Super 7 when it's in the box. Like this, looks really nice. The packaging's great. They do these die cuts. Look at that. Right out of the movie. A nice little screen grab. So a little bio about the character himself. But if you don't know him, then please go watch the movie because it still holds up. It's one of the best. This is like from the 70s or something. And it's a beautiful film, and it's done very well. So here we are. I mean, look at this. We got 3 head sculpts, we got a mirror, we got some extra hands, and then there's 2 Sir Hiss figures. And it was interesting because this box is substantially smaller than the Robin Hood box. I guess because of how many pieces were for his costume. But I like that his robe is actual cloth. But, all right. Without further ado, let's open it up and see if this is a box of disappointment. So the card that's in there is just a purple background, like a curtain or something. So that is good looking in the package. I would be one to say that, like, oh, this is going to be a great figure, having not, you know, if I had never touched the Robin Hood one first, which this came out prior to Robin Hood, I believe. Like, you could get this well ahead of Robin Hood himself. But man, in box, it just looks so good. I want to love Super 7. I want to love their stuff. A lot of, I mean, it looks like there's always, you know, lots of details going on here. So let's take this plastic apart and get everything out. So 2 sets of stuff. They double stack, which is fine. They did the same thing with Robin Hood, and everything's always easy to get out. Not easy to get out in the plastic, but they don't have a lot of ties holding things down, which is nice. Some of these crowns are attached. From what I read in the comments on Robin Hood, only one can you mess with, which seems like it might be this one. So be careful when taking these out because there's just a couple small spots that are holding that in. It looks like literally just 2 spots on the ears holding that crown in place, so be careful. All right, so a nice little overview. We've got two heads, two Sir Hiss. We have this tiny mirror. It's just a shiny chrome sticker. Two total extra sets of hands, plus this extra left hand because of his jewels that get lost. I can't remember exactly what happens there. Stolen, I would guess, obviously. So as far as the extra hands, we have 3 additional right hands and 2 additional left hands, which are both full fists, which is interesting. I don't know why you wouldn't have one of those open grip like this one. So you get the fully open hands, fully closed, and then only one, which will either hold the mirror, and then of course you may want to have his hand around Sir Hiss because he strangles him, which is what this whole face is, right? That's you're gonna get strangled face. All right, so that is a nice little overview of everything that's in the box. Let's look at details. Ooh, okay. I really hate that there's holes in the top of the head to hold the crown, but I guess that's, I mean, what else are you gonna do? You kind of get stuck with that, right? So you just gotta stick those in there. Huh. I kind of wish that you just had a head without a crown altogether, and then you could have like ear articulation. That would be cool, but we're not in articulation yet. Let's talk about details. So it is important to know that that does come off. So looking at Prince John here, so you can get some different looks of the crown being a little forward, a little backwards. Let's take it off because it's kind of annoying to look at details with it on. So, I mean, not a lot to say with details when we are pulling from an animated item, especially something from that long ago. It would be cool to have some articulation in the mouth, but I'm not gonna hold that against it just yet. This cloth robe feels fine. It looks great. So all the jewels on his rings, so that all looks really nice. Let's open that up. What do we got in there? So there, oop, look at that. So it looks like the cloth robe has rubbed against his body, and I don't know that I can get that off. I have to use some kind of like paint thinner or something maybe to try to get that off. So that robe is great to be on for an inbox collector, but it does seem like it probably should have been bagged and separated from the figure. In all fairness, I would never have him without the robe. So lower half here, just tiny little stumpy legs. They seem fine. I'm sure they're, yeah, already feels a little loose. The tail tip, so it is technically, you can see that there's a little bit of a different color going on here. He actually has holes in his feet, which is crazy because Robin Hood didn't have anything. So I wonder why they're doing that here. From some of the comments, it seemed to be hit or miss too, on like some of the Ninja Turtle figures had holes in the feet and then a lot of the others didn't. So the crown itself, I mean, it looks good. The paintwork looks fine. Doesn't seem like there's really any mistakes or anything. It's pretty straightforward. We have the mirror, which looks really, again, simple. It pulls right from the animated movie, so you can't really do a whole lot of details, but the sculpt work looks good. Let's do the other heads first. So we have the tilted crown on here with his mouth and his eyes making a different head sculpt here. So really simple, not a lot to talk about there. We have this one with, again, just a different look on the face, and it looks good, looks fine. So starting with the other hands, we have this one, which will obviously be his only gripping hand, a fist without the jewels in it, then 2 full fisted left hands, or right hands, my left, his right, and again with the jewel and without the jewel, and then finally this fist with the jewels on it. Kind of sad. I mean, it's nice to pay attention to those details from the film. I really am already bothered that there isn't a left hand that is a gripping hand, so maybe you want to hold the mirror and Sir Hiss. But speaking of Sir Hiss, that's looking pretty good. His eyes, his paintwork is fine. Nothing really crazy to even do here. And this one. Usually you get a snake figure in a toy set, even like cheap toys, and it's like a wired style so you can actually bend it and pose it and stuff. So it looks like the only thing you're gonna be able to do is move the head articulation, which is a bummer. But As far as accessories details, the thing that I wish that they would have put in here is that stack of gold coins. This is the first thing I think of when I see these two together. How did we not get that? I would have loved to have a little basket for him to be in. Man, but that's whatever. Maybe they'll do an accessory set. Do they ever do accessory sets? I don't know, but that would have been cool. All right, so let's move on to articulation. Let's just start with Sir Hiss because he doesn't have a whole lot. He's just got this head, which can go straight up and almost straight down. That's actually pretty good. And then it could spin all the way around. So nearly straight up and great down articulation. And that's it. I really do wish that this was a wire-based thing that you could just pose yourself. It would have been awesome. And then just maybe have like a different head sculpt on a wired thing. Disappointing. Okay, because I would have loved to have replicated this, but can't. Articulation for Prince John. So we know that the crown can come off, so I guess you could technically consider that articulation, or maybe do you consider that a different head sculpt? So looking up is just a little bit, looking down is almost nothing, and it is a very loose, wobbly head. The tilt left and right is actually pretty nice. And then of course it can spin all the way around. There's no joint here at the neck, which seems like a missed opportunity. The arms, so we have, because of the cloth, we're not gonna be able to do a whole lot, but if you took this off, you could obviously spin the arms all the way around. Well, actually you can get it with the cloth, but it just starts to bind up as you go backwards. So up, great. T-pose, great. The elbows, what do we got in there? So the elbow is a single joint. It doesn't have a whole lot of range, not even a 90 degrees, but it does spin the wrist and then a nice 90 degrees on the wrist as well. So kind of like Robin Hood, we've got these kind of interesting, unique builds down here, which complicate things for sure. You can see some more color rubbed off on the plastic here. But we have some kind of interesting joints there at the hips. We got this spinning knee. We have, let's see, how much? Get a little bit of articulation there at the knee, nothing crazy. And then spinning of the foot. The foot goes almost straight up, which is wild. And then down is really good. And then the tail has some rotation and like a hinge point. So not too bad. Based on Robin Hood, my expectations are already lowered, but the plastic is all just incredibly loose. So you're gonna have to find some solutions to stiffen those things up, because I do worry that eventually this is gonna be a problem for him to stand on his own because his feet are just gonna collapse. You'll probably have to use his tail as a prop. But overall, it's fine. Nothing wild on articulation. So let's get into posing. Alright, so there we have it with Prince John and Sir Hiss. I don't know, man. I mean, I guess if you lower your expectations, then the brand's not so bad, and if you get a discount, but they're not worth $55. I'm really disappointed that there's not the thumb-sucking head and hand, which would be great. I need more hand options, I need that left one to be open. Then the Sir Hiss, I really wish was bendable, because you can't do much with these two options. He really is just an accessory versus his standalone character, which is kind of a bummer. I mean, there's some really good opportunities that you could have done there. His feet are a serious problem. The left one is basically useless, so you have to really balance him perfectly and put the weight on the left leg, at least for mine anyway. So when it comes to detail, I mean, there's not a lot that you can do. I think he's okay for what he's got going on, so we'll give him a 3 out of 5. And when it comes to articulation, he's got some serious issues with the feet, and it's really just joint issues, so we'll give him a 2 out of 5. And when it comes to posing, there's really nothing you could do. He has to pretty much stand the whole time, which is a problem based on his ankles and the support from those joints. And Sir Hiss, you can't really do anything with. I mean, his head moves, but it's kind of pointless. And then the accessories you get are a little weak, but overall, let's give him a 3 out of 5 on posing, which I don't think is that much of a surprise for this figure. When I was going through the posing stage and looking at all of the details and stuff a little bit closer, one thing I really noticed is that, like, when you open his jacket, this was inside. That's weird. Huh. Oh well. All right, so I am coming into this with less disappointment because I had already reviewed Robin Hood himself. Pretty sure I used the Honey plugin in the browser for Entertainment Earth and got a discount. So it doesn't feel as bad, but I also went into this with less expectations. Now, the biggest issues with Prince John, he needs to have a left hand that is open so you could have options of what he's holding and where he's holding it. The biggest issue is what I feared during the articulation phase, is that his feet cannot support him. So this left foot constantly just cracks under pressure. But overall, I'm happier because my expectations were lower. It does look good. It's the articulation and the weak joints that are the problem. I don't know, I think I'm less upset too, because what you get from him, you're not taking his legs and everything apart and putting him on stilts and stuff like Robin Hood. So I'm less upset. He cannot stand on his own because he literally has no way to hold himself up with this foot. So, but that's it. So the overall score ranking of Prince John, who cannot stand on his own free will. Oh, that's annoying. But yeah, not worth $55, that's for sure. But compared to him and Robin Hood, he seems to be a little bit better than Robin Hood, or my expectations were just incredibly low. So I'm happier with this one, but I would certainly make some changes. So let me know down in the comments how you feel about this one. Do you have him already, and is your experience the same as mine? Do these feet work for you? But if you're enjoying these reviews and you're new to the channel, then check out this video here where I'm actually happy by the end of it. And we'll see you next time.